Most people know New Mexico for its food, festivals, and desert highways. Yet beneath that image lies a story of loss. Pueblos that once echoed with voices and traditions now stand silent, their stones carrying the weight of absence. In Chaco Canyon, stone settlements and ceremonial buildings were left behind, their walls empty for centuries. Mining towns like Shakespeare, stone and adobe buildings remain intact in the desert, far longer than most settlements of its era. Even in Ah-Shi-Sle-Pah, stone formations carry the same record. Carved by time, outlasting everything humans built. The spaces once filled by people are now crossed by wildlife. Join me as we explore New Mexico's most extraordinary wonders, where rare discoveries and forgotten mysteries might change the way you see this state forever. From the late 900s until the late 1500s, Puye cliff dwellings was home to about 1,500 Pueblo people. Carved into soft volcanic tuff left by a million-year-old eruption, the cliff dwellings sprawl for a mile along a 200-foot high ridge. Over a dozen stairways and ladders, some with handholds cut in stone, connect cliff homes to the mesa top and water sources. But the inhabitants left suddenly, believed to be due to drought, but unexplained broken pottery and cryptic symbols left behind gave a hint at deeper mysteries. Even today, stories about unexplained events persist about their departure, from spiritual warnings to cryptic sky phenomena and smashed pottery, suggesting a possible ritual closure or attempts to erase the past. Established in 1987, El Malpais National Monument spans rugged volcanic terrain, lava flows, and caves. The name translates to the Badlands, referencing its jagged basalt flows. The lava tubes there are underground tunnels formed by molten rock draining from cooled surfaces, which include over 20 caves. Big Skylight Cave features a 40-foot wide collapse opening. Tubes maintain 40 degrees Fahrenheit year-round, with ice formations persisting into July. Ice Cave and Bandelier volcano is a collapsed lava tube, retaining a 20-foot thick ice layer, temperatures hovering at 31 degrees Fahrenheit. Although it is a dormant cinder cone that stays frozen year-round, its ice cores interestingly reveal pollen from 1,000-year-old plants. Magalia Overlook offers views of the Zuni Mountains and lava fields as it lies along the Continental Divide Trail. Originally, Spanish expeditions in the 1500s avoided the area due to impassable terrain, but the Civilian Conservation Corps eventually developed early trails in the 1930s. Today, it has a 0.8-mile trail that climbs 200 vertical feet to the overlook, built in the 1990s using recycled asphalt. Thriving in this habitat, the horned lark is in the perfect place to display its distinctive black horns made of feather tufts. Its coloration provides camouflage in open landscapes, helping it evade predators since it avoids areas with trees and shrubs, unlike many other songbirds. Unlike many songbirds, horned larks often sing while flying high above their territory, sometimes as high as 200 feet, before rapidly diving back to the ground. Some Native American tribes viewed the horned lark as a symbol of perseverance and adaptability due to its ability to thrive in challenging open landscapes, and saw it as a messenger of hope and resilience. In a similar manner, Chaco Culture National Historical Park preserves the remains of an ancient society known for its large-scale architectural achievements and complex social organisation in the American Southwest. The ancestral Puebloans built massive multi-storey stone buildings called great houses, such as Pueblo Bonito, with walls up to 3 feet thick and reaching 4 or 5 stories high. These great houses were connected by over 180 miles of carefully engineered roads, wide, levelled, and sometimes with stairways and ramps carved into cliffs. The buildings are oriented to solar, lunar, and cardinal directions, displaying deep astronomical knowledge used to mark solstices, equinoxes, and lunar cycles. The effort to construct these houses was immense, involving harvesting over 240,000 trees, transported without draft animals or wheels from distant mountains. In the mid-12th century, Chaco Canyon was mysteriously abandoned, with legends attributing it to Kachina spirits and upheavals that drove people from the sacred site. Adding a flash of dusty blue to the same desert canyons, once occupied by ancestral peoples, is the Woodhouse's scrub jay. Unlike the grand ceremonial centres of the past, the scrubjay's world revolves around scattered food caches and territorial defence. These scrubjays are clever and mischievous. They've been caught stealing acorns or pine seeds from other birds, and even hide their own food in secret spots to keep it safe from other thieves. Shakespeare Ghost Town began as a stagecoach stop called Mexican Springs in the 1850s, drawing people because of its reliable water source. At its height, the population surged to nearly 3,000 as miners, prospectors, and hired guns flocked to chase silver wealth and guard claims. Shakespeare faced a big scandal in 1872 when a diamond hoax was exposed as a fraud, causing many residents to suddenly leave town overnight in fear of being implicated in the scam. After the scandal devastated the town's reputation and population, the struggle continued through multiple failed revivals, leaving the community smaller and more fragile than before. Gila National Forest covers 3.3 million acres and includes the first designated wilderness area in the US, which was established in 1924. Annual rainfall averages 20 inches, with summer highs near 90 degrees Fahrenheit and winter lows below the 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Within this vast wilderness sits one of the region's most mysterious archaeological sites, the Gila Cliff Dwellings National Monument. Here, the Mogollon people created their homes within natural cave alcoves. Archaeological evidence suggests 8 to 10 families, totaling 40 to 60 people, lived here for roughly one generation before mysteriously abandoning the site about 700 years ago. Some rooms appear to have been left with pottery and tools still in place, suggesting a hasty evacuation rather than a planned relocation. Unfortunately, vandals and relic hunters had already burned roof timbers, torn down walls, and ransacked the site for pottery by the time of its first professional study. Up to this day, no one knows where the cliff dwellers went after abandoning their homes, but everyone agrees these ruins must be carefully protected to honour their story. The same mountain meadows and open forests are now inhabited by the mountain bluebird. The male's song echoes from bare branches just as the sun rises, a warbled melody so similar to a robin's call that it often deceives even experienced birders. The mountain bluebirds have been known to hybridize with both eastern and western bluebirds where their ranges overlap, creating intermediate forms that challenge the traditional species boundaries. Deeper in these mountains, we find the mining town of Mogollon. Founded after Army Sergeant James Cooney discovered rich veins of gold and silver, the settlement became infamous as one of the wildest mining towns in the West. But the famous period ended, and the town suffered repeated destructions. Fires and floods struck again and again across decades, yet each time, its stubborn residents rebuilt everything from the ruins. The 1918 Spanish flu pandemic devastated Mogollon so severely that victims would get sick in the morning and be dead by sundown, with many buried in an unmarked mass grave in the cemetery. Today, Mogollon has about 20 residents who insist the town was never truly abandoned, calling themselves one of the ghosties, as they keep its old buildings and dark past alive. While the gunfire of the past has fallen silent, today, the calls of the Clark's nutcrackers are the ones that fill the air. Each nutcracker can bury up to 500 seeds per hour during peak caching season, creating a complex network of food stores that spans territories up to 15 miles across. The oldest recorded Clark's nutcracker lived over 17 years, making it one of the longest-lived birds of its kind. The Shiprock Formation is a volcanic neck, the hardened core of an ancient volcano, left standing after softer surrounding rock eroded away. The original volcano erupted roughly 30 million years ago, leaving behind fractured volcanic breccia and radiating rock dikes. The formation holds deep significance for the Navajo people, linked to stories of a great bird that brought their ancestors to the region. Out of respect for its cultural importance, climbing Shiprock has been prohibited since 1970. In the 1800s, the site became a navigational marker for settlers and traders moving along the old Spanish Trail. While its Navajo name means the rock with wings, its English name derives from its resemblance to the tall, narrow clipper ships of that era. In the sun-baked, arid area around Shiprock is the desert horned lizard. He possesses one of nature's most shocking defense mechanisms, the ability to shoot blood from his eyes with amazing precision up to 5 feet away, instantly confusing predators and giving himself time to escape. The blood contains toxins from the venomous harvester ants that make up most of their diet, making their spray especially sickening for predators like coyotes and foxes. Despite their fearsome appearance and blood-squirting abilities, desert horned lizards are sit-and-wait predators that can remain motionless for hours. Cove Arch is a natural freestanding arch located near the base of Shiprock's southern slope. It is part of the same volcanic system as Shiprock, created after the original volcanic activity subsided. The site is also referenced in traditional stories, where it is said to have served as a shelter or gathering point. In the late 19th century, settlers documented the arch while surveying the area for mineral resources, though its remote location limited extensive exploration. The burrowing owl inhabits the same grasslands and desert regions. They are the only owl species in the world that nests completely underground, living in tunnels excavated by prairie dogs, ground squirrels, and other burrowing mammals. Their eyes are so proportionally massive that if scaled to human size, they would be as large as grapefruits, making up 5% of their total body weight. Behaviourally, they display unusual intelligence for raptors. When threatened by predators, the young are producing a perfect imitation of a rattlesnake's warning call from deep inside their burrows, causing potential threats to flee in terror. and after 14 to 21 days old, they cautiously peek out, spending weeks practicing their skills to become independent hunters. The families maintain complex social networks with multiple satellite burrows scattered across their territory, allowing the members to quickly escape to backup hideouts if danger ever happens. Salinas Pueblo Mission's National Monument represents 4 of only 6 surviving 17th century Spanish mission churches remaining in the entire southwest. The 3 mission sites were strategically aligned with ancient Pueblo pilgrimage routes to the Salt Lakes, suggesting the Spanish may have unknowingly built their churches on sacred ceremonial paths. The most mysterious aspect involves the abandonment itself. Unlike other Spanish colonial settlements, the Salinas pueblos were deserted before the 1680 revolt, with some buildings left unfinished, including church walls and conventos. Several factors contributed to the abandonment, from devastating epidemics that reduced the population from 10,000 to 500, drought, Apache raids, and even religious conflicts between missionaries, yet the exact cause of the final departure is still unknown. Glen Rio stands as one of Route 66's most unusual ghost towns, straddling the Texas-New Mexico state line. His location led to bizarre business practices, where all fuel was dispensed on the Texas side due to New Mexico's higher gasoline taxes. The town's most haunting feature is a white 1968 Pontiac Catalina parked by the old Texaco station, once owned by a murder victim, whose wife stayed as the last resident for decades after everyone else departed. While the abandoned buildings of Glen Rio seem forgotten, life continues in the surroundings of the southwest. The hepatic tanager brings vibrant colour and melodic song to these regions, keeping them alive. Males wear this brilliant brick red coloration, while females show olive yellow plumage with greyish accents. The high contrast might suggest 2 different species, but in fact they are the same. Lincoln National Forest covers 1.1 million acres across 3 mountain ranges: Sacramento, Guadalupe, and Capitan. It is most notable for serving as the birthplace of Smokey Bear, an American campaign and advertising mascot of the US Forest Service in the wildfire prevention campaign. Logging began here in the 1890s to supply railroad ties, leaving remnants of narrow-gauge rail lines and sawmill sites. Remarkably well adapted to the terrain originally occupied only by native species are the Aoudad Barbary sheep. Originally introduced to New Mexico in the 1940s, they represent one of North America's most successful wildlife introductions. Aoudad populations have exploded to the point where annual hunting licenses now exceed 1,000, making them one of the state's most popular exotic game species. The Sierra Blanca Range is a volcanic mountain range that features the state's highest peak outside the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. The peak's summit is composed of andesite and rhyolite, including a lava cap from its final eruption. Permian-era limestone near its base contains fossils of marine organisms from an inland sea. Its resident ski resort, Ski Apache, has been operating since 1961 and uses reclaimed wastewater for snowmaking. The high-elevation forests of the Sierra Blanca are inhabited by the Steller's jays. They use a clever strategy, imitating hawk screams to scare other birds from food sources, then swooping in to steal the prize for themselves. These normally raucous birds become completely silent and secretive during nesting season to avoid attracting predators, but transform into fierce defenders if their nest is under attack. Unfortunately, their population has declined 34% since 1966, according to breeding bird surveys, with habitat loss posing an increasing threat to their survival. Rising to 9,600 feet, the Monjo Peak features a historic stone fire lookout tower built by the Civilian Conservation Corps in the 1930s. The structure's 6-foot thick walls and steel shutters were designed to withstand lightning. A 26-mile crest trail connects the peak to Sierra Blanca, passing remnants of 1940s. Radio towers used for military communications. Jemez Historic Site is preserving the 700-year-old Pueblo of Gisela, alongside the ruins of a massive Spanish mission. The site's name translates to the village by the sulphur, referring to natural hot springs that still bubble from the earth today. The original village was built by the ancestors of the present-day Jemez Pueblo people, containing up to 1,000 rooms, making it one of the largest settlements during its peak. Every December, the Lights of Gisela festival transforms the old Jemez ruins, as hundreds of paper lanterns illuminate the 700-year-old walls, while traditional dances take place among them. Up to this day, only 18% of the original Pueblo has been excavated, meaning vast sections of this city still remain buried beneath small hills and stone walls, waiting to be discovered. In the dead snags and living trees surrounding the historic site, the northern flickers chose to spend their time foraging on the ground, rather than drilling into tree bark like their relatives. One of North America's most unusual woodpeckers, they choose to excavate a new nest cavity each year. Yet because of their strong site fidelity, these nests are usually within 100 yards of the previous years, often keeping to the same area for over a decade. Northern flickers have been recorded living up to 12 years in the wild, though many fall prey to hawks, owls and snakes that target their ground-feeding lifestyle. Taos Pueblo, located in northern New Mexico, is an ancient Taos settlement that has been continuously inhabited for over 1,000 years. Its multi-story adobe buildings, some reaching 5 stories high, were built using clay, straw and water, with walls up to 3 feet thick. The Tiwa language spoken here has never been written down and remains deliberately unrecorded because the people have maintained this oral-only tradition for over 1,000 years as a form of cultural protection against outside influence. The Northside Pueblo structure is reportedly one of the most photographed buildings in the Western Hemisphere, yet it remains a true living residence rather than a museum. Today, approximately 150 people live within the historic walls year-round, governed by a council that balances traditional and external legal systems. Traditional practices persist, as there is no modern plumbing or electricity incorporated in the oldest buildings, with the community maintaining the adobe using ancestral methods. Kasha-Katuwe Tent Rocks National Monument features cone-shaped rock formations, its name deriving from the Keresan words meaning white cliffs. The volcanic eruptions that created tent rocks occurred 6 to 7 million years ago, preserving layers of ash and pumice over 1,000 feet thick that contain fossilized evidence of prehistoric life forms still being discovered today. Some of the tent rock formations reach heights of up to 90 feet, making them taller than many buildings, yet they're composed of relatively soft volcanic ash and tuff that can even be carved by hand. Many tent rocks are slowly losing their protective boulder caps and breaking apart, but scientists cannot predict which ones will collapse next, or explain why some caps stay in place for thousands of years while others suddenly fall. The only other place on Earth with similar formations is Cappadocia, Turkey, almost on the opposite side of the world, which has led to theories about ancient geological links or shared volcanic origins that science cannot yet explain. Bandelier National Monument shows what remains of a sophisticated civilization that flourished for 400 years before vanishing completely, leaving behind over 3,000 sites carved into volcanic cliffs scattered across the wilderness. Despite having ideal living conditions, year-round water, fertile valley floors, abundant game, and easily defended cliff positions, the entire population simply disappeared, leaving behind personal belongings, unfinished construction projects, and evidence of what looked like violent conflicts. It was named after the Swiss-American anthropologist Adolphe Bandelier, who first explored these ruins in 1880 and proclaimed them the grandest thing he ever saw. During World War II, the monument's visitor lodge secretly housed Manhattan Project personnel working on the atomic bomb at nearby Los Alamos, with the park mysteriously closed to public access during this period. The only year-round residents at Bandelier are the hairy woodpeckers. These birds possess specialised shock-absorbing tissues and flexible skull joints that prevent brain damage during their relentless hammering. This adaptation allows them to strike trees up to 20 times per second without injury. The bristly feathers covering their nostrils work like built-in dust masks, filtering wood chips and debris during excavation work, helping them to create architectural masterpieces that require 2 to 3 weeks of constant drilling to complete. Golden became the site of the first gold rush west of the Mississippi River, happening 23 years before California's gold rush and establishing the pattern for all the other American mining booms. Only 5 years after official founding, in 1879, the gold was already beginning to dwindle, and people started abandoning the town, making it one of the shortest-lived major mining booms in Western history. Interestingly, the Golden General Merchandise Store, opened in 1918, is the only business in town that never closed and is now known as Henderson General Store. The town's decline was accelerated not just by depleted gold deposits, but also by vandalism that destroyed many historic structures over the decades, leaving only foundations and partial walls up. Bisti Denizen Wilderness covers a large region of eroded badlands, marked by layered sandstone, mudstone, and coal deposits. The area's name combines the Navajo terms that mean large area of shale hills, and standing cranes, referencing its distinct geology and local lore. Known for its otherworldly rock formations, the site includes hoodoos, petrified wood, and eroded pillars nicknamed cracked eggs for their fractured spherical shapes. The landscape was shaped by ancient river systems and volcanic ash deposits, later exposed by retreating seas and erosion. Designated a wilderness area in 1984, visitors must acquire official permits to access it, as well as proper guides or maps to navigate their way around, since there are no marked trails. Paleontologists have also since uncovered fossils of Cretaceous period plants, reptiles, and dinosaur eggs, indicating a swampy past. Aztec Ruins National Monument preserves one of the most misleadingly named archaeological sites in North America. This amazing structure was constructed with sandstone blocks weighing several tons each, transported without wheels or horses from quarries miles away. Despite its name, it has absolutely nothing to do with the Aztec Empire. 19th century settlers mistakenly applied the name when they mixed up the ancestral Puebloan ruins with Mexican cultures they had heard about. The Hubbard site is unusual because it has a tri-walled design, meaning 3 walls forming 22 rooms. This layout doesn't appear anywhere else in ancestral Puebloan sites, and no one knows why it was built this way. Lake Valley's name came from the lake beds that once filled the surrounding valley, though that water had long disappeared before silver brought both prosperity and death to Sierra County. The discovery of pure horn silver began with a cryptic tale from a Chinese prospector in a Georgetown saloon, who claimed to have found it while lost between towns, but could never relocate the source that would become Lake Valley's fortune. Despite discovering the richest silver cave in history, blacksmith John Levitt didn't understand what he'd found and sold his claim back to the Sierra Grande Mining Company for just a few $1,000s. Much of the silver was mined with axes and hatchets because it was too pure to blast, while saws were used to cut the silver into blocks that could be shipped directly to the US Mint. The last permanent residents departed in 1994, ending nearly a century of continuous habitation in a settlement that once housed 4,000 people during its silver boom. The Chihuahuan Desert is North America's largest desert, with significant portions spanning southern New Mexico. It is characterized by high elevations and temperature extremes ranging from over 100 degrees Fahrenheit in summer to below freezing in winter. Today, access to certain areas remains restricted as they are used as military testing sites, which were first established in the 1940s. While many expect only specialized desert species in the Chihuahuan Desert, the American robin developed unique survival strategies that allow it to thrive in extreme heat and limited water conditions. One of their strategies is the counter-current exchange system in their bare legs that prevents heat loss in freezing temperatures, allowing blood to flow down to warm blood flowing back up to their bodies. Unfortunately, their strong immune systems also make them effective carriers of West Nile virus, spreading the disease to mosquitoes that then bite humans. These birds have developed an extraordinary anti-predator strategy where they form coordinated attack groups to mob larger threats like blue jays, snakes, and even small mammals that approach their nests. Robin nest construction takes 2 to 6 days, with females making up to 180 mud-carrying trips per day, and sometimes building new nests on top of old ones, creating multi-generational structures where they can raise their chicks safely. The Organ Mountains rise abruptly in the desert landscape, their steep granite spires named for resembling pipe organ tubes. Created 32 million years ago by crustal stretching, the range served as a landmark for Spanish colonial trails in the 16th century. Later, lead and silver mines were opened for operation in the 1800s, with ruins of smelters and Apache defensive sites still visible. The White Sands National Monument sits atop one of the largest concentrations of Ice Age megafauna footprints in North America, with thousands of fossilized tracks from mammoths, camels, dire wolves, and saber-toothed cats preserved in the lakebed sediments. Preserved trackways show evidence that humans were actively hunting and possibly herding megafauna, with coordinated group movements and strategic positioning around large animals. The footprints show people walking near the Ice Age animals, maybe even stalking them along muddy lake edges, and after storms, old tracks can reappear, like the ground is opening a doorway to the past. The discovery was important because it helped change White Sands from a national monument to a national park on December 20th, 2019, making it the newest national park in the United States. It is considered one of the best natural sites in the world, where scientists can closely study how humans once interacted with extinct giant animals just by looking at their fossilized footprints. Carlsbad Caverns is one of the few places in the world where you can clearly see ongoing geologic processes and rare cave formations still forming in an undisturbed environment. The park contains cave formations created with the help of bacteria, representing one of the unusual ways in which living organisms contribute to cave formation on Earth. Some cave bacteria help make popcorn bumps by releasing minerals as they live, so bubble-like shapes grow, and they look alive but are actually solid rock. thousands of cave formations, such as massive flowstone curtains, soda straw stalactites, and cave popcorn, which cover the walls with mineral deposits that imitate underwater coral gardens, can be found in the Big Room. Since the caves are undisturbed, new formations are still growing, and researchers can study this process in real time. Loma Parda, dubbed by an army officer a Sodom, led Ralph Looney to make the memorable biblical pun, calling it Sodom on the Mora for its biblical-scale debauchery along the riverbanks. People called the local whiskey Loma Lightning, and Fort Union officers complained that many drunk soldiers ended up in the guardhouse and hospital too often because of it. Exploding practically overnight, a quiet farming village of 500 residents grew into one of the largest towns in the New Mexico Territory after Fort Union rose nearby in 1851. Loma Parda became a magnet for soldiers, cowboys and desperados from the Santa Fe Trail, so theft and crime spread. Today, the town is just a standing adobe church with scattered, crumbling walls, mostly visited between spring and autumn, when the place feels most haunting. Stretching from the San Juan Mountains to the Gulf of Mexico is the Rio Grande, one of the longest rivers in North America. The river's course follows the Rio Grande Rift, a tectonic boundary widening 0.1 inches yearly. Its flow averages 1,900 cubic feet per second near Albuquerque, but dwindles to zero in dry stretches due to irrigation demands. Over 80% of the river's water is diverted for agriculture, leaving sections dry for up to 200 days yearly. The Rio Grande Gorge, a deep canyon carved by the Rio Grande, reaches depths of 800 feet near Taos. Notably, in 1933, the Civilian Conservation Corps built trails into the gorge, though they were later abandoned due to erosion. Local Puebloan legends describe a sipapu, meaning emergency hole, near the gorge, though it was never officially founded or recorded. Today, the gorge draws 300,000 visitors annually, with strict no-rescue policies for unprepared hikers. From the Rio Grande Gorge, the tropical kingbird perches on nearby wires and cottonwoods and darts out to catch flying insects. Before sunrise, the male sings a steady, rising song in the dark, while the female chases off threats like fish crows and Cooper's hawks. Then, as daylight returns, the male adds soft wing flutter signals to finish the display. These birds sing continuously throughout the day, even when most other birds fall silent during midday heat, making them one of the few species that maintain constant vocal territory defense, regardless of temperature. By eating big flying insects, tropical kingbirds help keep wasp and beetle numbers in check, and their presence shows the area has good perches, steady nest sites, and open air for repeat flights. Completed in 1965, the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge spans the canyon. Its steel deck arch design rises 650 feet above the river, making it the fifth highest bridge in the US. Construction required 4,200 tons of steel, anchored into bedrock to withstand 100 miles per hour winds. Capulin comes from the Spanish word for choke cherry, a shrub with dark red fruit on the volcano's slopes. Early travellers used the plant as a landmark, and the name stuck to the cone and the area. Caplin's cone stayed nearly perfect because lava later flowed out a western boca, rafting bits of the cone and sending 4 lava flows across 15.7 square miles. Like fireworks from the ground, cinders blasted 1,600 feet high and dropped in neat arcs, forming a near-perfect cone that stands 1,300 feet above the plains. Chloride rose in 1881 on silver from the Black Range and declined when the ore and prices fell. Yet with reliable water and timber, it held on longer than most, leaving a tight street layout and surviving structures. Prospectors found silver chloride, serragirite, in the hills, so the town was called Chloride, and the label soon appeared on freight bills, maps, and mail. The town shifted between mining, hauling, and repairing gear, guided by weather conditions and ore yields. Merchants advanced supplies to blacksmiths, who kept wagons running with regular tyre replacements. Many boomtowns lost their layout, but Chloride's main street still reads clearly. This means visitors can walk the old circuit assay, boarding house, livery, and mill without guesswork. Today it has a short old main street, a restored general store museum, and some homes, and anyone can join small events and walk past old foundations, mill parts and stacked tailings. Just east of Albuquerque are the Sandia Mountains, composed of 1.4 billion-year-old granite, overlain by 300 million-year-old limestone. Its name is the Spanish word for watermelon, possibly referencing their pinkish hue at sunset. Temperatures at the summit average 30 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than Albuquerque's base, creating microclimates within 10 horizontal miles. Built in 1965, the Sandia Crest Highway climbs 13.6 miles to the summit, passing through 4 climate zones. Interestingly, geologists have identified 25,000-year-old glacial striations near the crest, which serve as proof of Pleistocene ice patches that are usually rare this far south. In the Sandia Mountains, the northern owl sits at small openings to spot prey. Unlike most owls, it hunts in daylight, gives steady toot calls from a high perch, and moves as prey shifts. Small birds often mob it and give away its spot. Because it calls often and gets mobbed by songbirds, people locate it more easily than strictly nocturnal owls. It sits, watches, and then dives straight at prey, then returns to cover. When the hunting is good and plentiful, it stores spare food in tree holes or on thorns for lean times. This small owl can catch birds close to its weight. By taking small birds and big insects, the northern pygmy owl makes flocks more alert along Sandia mountain edges, which people notice as sudden mobbing. Its presence also points to cavity trees, a layered canopy, and steady prey in these forests. Bosque del Apache National Wildlife Refuge spans the Rio Grande floodplain, which was established in 1939 to restore wetlands drained for agriculture. It serves as a key migration stop for sandhill cranes and other waterfowl. In fact, the refuge hosts up to 10,000 sandhill cranes and 30,000 snow geese each winter, arriving from November to February. Water is diverted from the Rio Grande via ditches and water control structures, flooding annually to mimic natural cycles. During winter storms at Bosque del Apache, sandhill cranes form protective circles around their young. These species are at least 2.5 million years old, which makes them one of the oldest birds still living, from the same era as mammoths and saber-toothed cats. They can also stand on one leg in icy water for hours without frostbite due to special blood flow in their legs. At Bosque del Apache, sandhill cranes sometimes rub iron-rich mud and bits of plants on their grey feathers to add brown colouring that helps them blend into farm fields while they feed. They have special glands that let them drink slightly salty water, removing the extra salt that would harm most birds. Archaeological clues suggest these birds have used the same roosting spots at these floodplains for over 10,000 years, making their return one of the longest, ongoing wildlife traditions in North America. Both sandhill cranes and snow geese spend winter at Bosque del Apache, roosting on water and feeding in fields. They rise in waves at sunrise and come back at sunset to the same spots. When storms roll in, huge flocks of snow geese spin in the sky like tight spirals, as if feeling out the wind before they keep feeding or seek shelter. Some of them come in a rare blue form, grey body, dark wings, and white head. It's a genetic variation that shows up in only a small percentage of birds at Bosque del Apache. A sudden mass launch often means danger. Ongoing calls and close circles tell that the flock is reforming. These geese often come back to the very same roosting spots year after year, and some tagged birds have used the same pond for over 15 winters. As snow geese move at sunrise and sunset, the barn owl works the night. It flies in the same refuge edges, but chasing mice and rats instead. They fly almost silently because their wing feathers have tiny combs and soft fringes that reduce sound, so they can glide very slowly without being heard until they're very close. With uneven ear placement, they hear in 3D and can pinpoint a mouse over 30 feet away in total darkness, because their sensitive hearing picks up faint sounds even under snow and heavy vegetation. Using only sound, they form a mental map of their territory and can hunt even when there is no light at all. With their sensitive hearing, they can change direction mid-flight based on tiny sound changes, pushing their hunting success above 90% in good conditions. Designated in 2005, Ah-Shi-Sle-Pah Wilderness covers the Badlands in the San Juan Basin, featuring rock formations, hoodoos, and fossils. Its Navajo-derived name translates to grey salt, referencing alkali deposits in dried stream beds. The area's fruitland and Kirtland shale layers date to 75 million years ago, preserving late Cretaceous fossils like Pachyrhinosaurus bones and petrified cypress logs. Navajo oral histories describe the area as a source of medicinal plants, though no permanent settlements existed. Navajo Lake, a reservoir formed by the Navajo Dam on the San Juan River, is one of the state's largest lakes, offering fishing, boating, and camping opportunities. Completed in 1962 as part of the Colorado River Storage Project, the dam stores 1.7 million acre-feet of water for irrigation, flood control, and municipal use. Unfortunately, the lake's original 1950s construction had displaced 20 families, though they were compensated via federal grants. Archaeological surveys identified 12 ancestral Puebloan sites, now submerged, documented via pre-flood excavations. Across the water and diving for fish is the western grebe. They impress mates by running on water, hitting up to 20 steps per second and travelling around 66 feet in about 7 seconds. They mostly migrate at night and are seldom seen flying in the day, so they seem to appear and disappear like phantoms. These birds dive for more than half a minute and hunt over deep water using sharp senses to track fish even when it's very dark. With legs placed far back, they move poorly on land, which keeps them living almost entirely in the water. Fort Union National Monument preserves the remnants of a 19th century military post established in 1851 to protect trade along the Santa Fe Trail. The fort operated until 1891, featuring adobe and wood structures, including a 300-foot-long quartermaster depot and a 12-bed hospital. During the Civil War, Confederate forces occupied the fort briefly in 1861, before Union troops reclaimed it. White oaks boomed after gold in 1879, then faded when the railroad skipped it and mines slowed, leaving a small ghost town with historic buildings and the no scum allowed saloon. Once it had banks, hotels, an opera house, newspapers, and lots of saloons, so it was known as the liveliest town where many kinds of people met. After deadly mine fires and falling prices emptied shops, locals began reporting strange lights and footsteps in old buildings, especially by the saloon and cemetery. The town went from chases and feuds to robberies and decline, but the full story of the gold find, outlaws, missed railroad and old buildings still sits there, living, filled with both legends and history. Pecos National Historical Park encompasses the remains of a 15th century Pueblo village and a 17th century Spanish mission. The village once housed over 2,000 people in multi-storey adobe structures, some exceeding 4 stories tall. The Spanish called the site Pecos Pueblo, but the people who lived there called themselves Tzikuye. The real meaning of the name remains uncertain because the original language is no longer spoken. The same Spanish left behind records talking about fears of witchcraft and secret rituals in the village, but people still debate if this was just a misunderstanding about Pueblo religion or if it showed real underground practices. Its strategic location also made it a trade hub between Pueblo farmers and plains tribes, exchanging goods across a 300-mile network. The Sangre de Cristo Mountains stretch 250 miles, with peaks formed by tectonic uplift along the Rio Grande Rift 30 million years ago. It is the southernmost sub-range of the Rocky Mountains, extending into New Mexico. Wheeler Peak, the range's highest point at 13,167 feet, is the highest mountain in the state. It was notably named after 19th century surveyor George Wheeler. Its summit ridge, a remnant of glacial carving, holds ice patches into late summer. In the Sangre de Cristo, grey foxes stay near coyote territory edges, using rocks and brush to hide while hunting small animals in the same drainages. Their advantage is climbing, using sharp claws and flexible wrists to scale pinyon and oak, dodge danger, and rest above ground. At sunrise and sunset, they take quick loops between brush, water, small mammal paths, and berry patches, tightening the path when risk goes up. They don't move away, but they use a bigger area during food peaks and a smaller area once winter sets in. Coyotes are their main threat, so foxes avoid open ground, stick to broken slopes, and hop between rock piles to stay safe. This is New Mexico, a land of hidden wonders and remarkable architectural marvels. Now, if you don't want to miss the most unreal wonders of Arizona, check out this video.